Good morning, sunshine. Happy Monday. I hope you've all had a relaxing, restful weekend, and welcome back to Tiger's Occult. I'm your friendly internet paranormal researcher and investigator, Dr. Morris, and today's entity is the Agathodaemon. Again, referring to our three main reference texts, Illy's Encyclopedia of Spirits, Bain's Encyclopedia of Spirits in World Mythology, and Guiley's Encyclopedia of Ghosts and Spirits, and a smattering of further research. I'm going to tell you where it comes from, how to identify it, what it does, we'll address any ethical concerns, and then we'll make sure we go over safe interaction with the entity if you should ever come across one during your travels. Let's get started with the origins. These entities come to us from ancient Greece, where they were seen as at least three separate types of entities. The term Agathodaemon translates very literally as noble or good spirit. The first, the original entity, that was that of what they called a household god, but is now understood to be a type of house spirit. The term god is reserved for a specific classification of a different type of entity in modern usage. The Agathodaemon was a more generic term for any number of these house spirits that lived in Greek and Egyptian households to protect the family and home. They're not unlike, say, the Slavic domovoi, the English hob, the German kobold, or Hausgeist, and to a certain extent the Roman lares that followed the fall of ancient Greece. During the era of the Ptolemaic kingdom, the Agathodaemon split into two separate roles. One was the specific Agathodaemon, a specifically named proper noun entity depicted as the serpentine civic god who was the protector of the city of Alexandria. The other role was the Agathodaemones, which, while capitalized, referred to a more specific genus of numerous household spirits. These Agathodaemones were more similar in description and purpose to the original Agathodaemon. Now we're going to get into the physical identification methods, and I'm real excited about this one, because this comes from ancient Greece, a culture that was known not only for their development of math and science and technology and philosophy, but also their art. I actually have a couple images to show to assist in the identification of these entities. The first image is a copper alloy statuette that can be found today at the National Archaeological Museum in Athens, Greece. As we can see, it's depicted as a serpent with the head of a man. This one seems to be named after a specific Agathodaemon carrying the name Serapis Amun Agathodaemon. Dated around 200 AD, I would guess this is a specific household's Agathodaemon, possibly named for the Graeco-Egyptian god Serapis. Most depictions of the god Serapis show it as a complete man, so I'm not inclined to think that this is a direct depiction of the god Serapis himself, but rather an individual household's Agathodaemon named after Serapis. The second image is a relief sculpture found in the catacombs of Kom el Sofaka in Alexandria, Shokafa in Alexandria, Egypt. We can see that this particular Agathodaemon is carrying a caduceus and a thyrsus, both of which were very specific icons used in Greek mythology. The caduceus was a symbol of commerce, negotiation, and medicine. The thyrsus was a symbol of prosperity and fertility. Between the location the sculpture was found and the caduceus and thyrsus symbols, I would quickly conclude that this is an image of the Agathodaemon, the specifically named civic god and protector of the city of Alexandria. For classification, all three would fall into very similar categories. Because these are location spirits that have never been human, they will all be class 5. They're focused on and anchored to one single location, be it a city or an individual household. Lastly, they're protector spirits. Therefore, the Class 5 focused anchored protection spirit holds true for every entity falling under the Agathodaemon umbrella term. Next, we'll get into the folklore tales and legends. Some of what we know comes from Pausanias' work, Description of Greece. Pausanias was a Greek traveler and geographer who was thought to have lived between 110 AD and 180 AD. Very little is actually known about Pausanias outside of what we can scrape together from his work and educated extrapolation based on the style of his writing. It is known that Pausanias lived in the Roman Empire, but he seemed to value his Greek roots. As such, Pausanias took a trip around Greece to write down everything he could about the dying culture as it was being subsumed by the Romans. His focus revolved around the cultural, mythological, and ritual significance of the geographic sites he visited. In Description of Greece, specifically Book 9, in reference to Lebedeia and Trophonius, he relates the story of deciding to descend to the oracle of Trophonius. He says, "What happens at the oracle is as follows. When a man has made up his mind to descend to the oracle of Trophonius, he first lodges in a certain building for an appointed number of days, this being sacred to the good spirit, Agathodaemon, and to good fortune. While he lodges there, among other regulations for purity, he abstains from hot baths, bathing only in the river Hercynia. Meat he has in plenty from the sacrifices, for he who descends sacrifices to Trophonius himself, and to the children of Trophonius, to Apollo also, and Cronius, and Zeus Basileus, and to Hera Henroch, the charioteer, and Demeter, to the surname Europa, and say he was the nurse of Trophonius." Now, keep in mind, I'm a modern paranormal scientist, not a Greek historian, so take my interpretation with a grain of salt. But from Pausanias' description and to my modern viewpoint, it seems like the Agathodaemon just wanted to hang out and kick it for a while with whoever was going to the oracle. Other tales tell us that every person is born with an Agathodaemon and a Cacodemon, representing the angel on one shoulder, the devil on the other concept. Bain points out that Agathodaemons are seen as good-natured protectors who remind us to live a moral life and seek self-improvement, while Cacodemons are, well, the complete opposite. As for the ethical considerations involved, well, it's a protective house spirit. Unlike Cacodemons, which we'll cover later, the Agathodaemons don't seem to ever be malicious. They're far more concerned with the protection and well-being of their household. The only time it's possible that an Agathodaemon may attack is if someone was attempting to destroy a vineyard under their protection, so, don't go burning down vineyards, and I guess you won't have to worry about that, right? Safe interaction methods. As this is a generally protective house spirit, I would suggest that it's far more beneficial if you keep it around and keep it happy. If you find that you have one in your house, it probably wouldn't hurt if you had a glass of wine after dinner. A libation of a few drops of wine from your glass seems to go a long way towards keeping your Agathodaemon happy. According to Greek Folk Religion by Nilsson or Ptolemaic Alexandria Volume 1 by Fraser, either pouring out a few drops of wine or drinking the wine, if you don't want to make a mess, in honor of your Agathodaemon is suitable. In return, they're said to be protectors of the homes in which they're honored. So, more or less paranormal pest control. I can't say exactly who would win in a fight, an Agathodaemon or, say, an Akiri, but if it's worth it to you, you might just keep an Agathodaemon around just for that little added security. Anyway, that's about all the information I was able to dig up about the Agathodaemon. I hope you found it informative. As always, like, comment, share, subscribe, and all that good stuff. You can find me on YouTube, Rumble, BitChute, and Odyssey. Till next time, fellas, I'll see you down here at the lab.